Okay, Ali, another episode, another series of blacklisting. Cannot wait to get into it today. So, without any further ado, what is first on your list, sir?
All right, so the first one's going to be a lace mold.
So these go round the outsides of a cake, if you want to.
Yeah.
Is that the way of it? And they sort of transfer. So it's a silicone mold. You're putting in your icing, or your sugar, or whatever it is that you're putting on. That molds it. Then you wrap it around the cake, and it affixes to the cake on the outside. Makes it look pretty.
Yeah, exactly.
Cool. So are we going with a lace mold and then potentially like a cake lace mold, or is it?
Yeah,
And I think lace mold's probably right anyway.
probably the most generic. Yeah.
Yeah, the most generic, and we can certainly look if we feel the need to go further in.
Yeah.
Um, Obviously here we've got. I mean, the first thing springs to mind is there's a taste scenario, eh? And also then whenever you're getting involved in taste, it can be quite tricky. Whenever I see taste, I'm immediately kind of moving away. But further backed up in this instance is the size of the market. That is the one thing that's screaming at me here is market size. What about yourself?
Yeah, like we can't see a single one of these offerings that are in range at the moment. Pair that with the pricing as well. Got a small market and a price point that's on the lower end of the scale as well.
Yeah, so it's sort of hitting. We can scroll on down there just to emphasize this in terms of BSRs. We can see that like the market just doesn't exist. So price isn't great, but we couldn't rule it out from there. The size of the market, it immediately goes like
Yeah.
literally in a oneer. Combined with that, I guess there's a little bit of taste involved as well. So for me, for you, it's out on a number of areas, but it's important to look down and sort of say, looking at these BSRs, there's nothing in range, and therefore there's no market. What have we got up next then, Ali, in terms of the next product that we want to go into and see what we would ascertain to be this market?
This is for a Lazy Susan turntable. I've got Lazy
Okay.
hardware.
So this is the bit that goes underneath the I guess there's a board where you put your
Yeah.
plates and your bowls and your dishes.
Yeah.
And then this is the piece that actually acts as the Lazy Susan. So is this a Lazy Susan turntable?
Potentially, but then that's going to bring back what we see as a Lazy Susan, as in the full board, as opposed to the hardware itself.
Okay, and you think that there's a word there of hardware inside. And I think what we're going to find here is this is difficult to describe from a
Yeah.
consumer's perspective, because I would, if I was looking for this, what would I type in? I'd probably actually go with the turntable to start
Yeah.
with, but you've also got hardware. It is in the thing. So let's just go Lazy Susan turntable, just because it was my initial thought. And immediately here, again, exactly what we said is this is not the product that's coming back, because we're actually after that piece that's underneath the board. Now, there it is. It is there. So you could sort of segue off this in a way and refine the search.
Mhm.
Okay. But the big thing is if that piece of hardware there is coming up under that search and the customer that we want to attract is after that, then we've got to be in this page as well if they're typing that in. But let's just have a look then at Lazy Susan hardware and see what comes back, Ali, just to see if we can gauge the market. Because for me, looking at this and that generic key term, I would want to be seeing something inside. I want to be able to get my product in front of the people that are typing that generic key term in as well. Yeah, just try that Lazy Susan hardware then, Ali, and see what that comes back with. We can now see there's another item that's kind of come in there.
Yeah.
6-inch version. Really hate the pricing.
Yeah.
That's for sure. Yes, it is in range. The other one that we saw is a 4-inch version, but there's four of them. To me, sort of like four pieces of that almost doesn't seem logical.
Yeah.
And yet it is selling. That is for sure. And also then we can see there's more pieces of hardware here in the more circular variety. So this now starts to add in, for me, confusion into the marketplace. What about yourself?
Yeah. I mean, on this first line here, we've got the 1, we've got the 4 in different colors, although I don't think taste really comes into this. But then we do have
No.
the circular style here as well. Pricing is not really consistent with one or the other.
Yeah, I think whenever you're looking at the square one, people will turn around and say, "Oh, well, there's an opportunity here for me to do a 4-pack," and it's like, right, well, you're going to be going into this market against that one seller. It's 10.99, right? I can't see any logic behind that product actually selling as a 4-pack, although that was the only hardware piece that we saw on the original generic key term. This other one didn't sort of show up as prominent. Then what we can see is there is a bigger market for the circular, right? There's more of them, and they're still kind of priced at this 10.99. So for me, it's coming in with, there is an edge of confusion, right? Now, again, I'd be a lot happier contending with confusion at a $20 mark. I'm not happy dealing with it at a $10 mark for the round version, or the $10 mark for a 4-pack of the square version, the smaller version.
Exactly.
And you're almost trying too hard to bring this product into stock. Yeah. I think that's a real point. If you're trying too hard to find the product and trying to make it work, you're trying to shoehorn something into the system. If you find yourself doing that, immediately stop and move on. So what do we have next, Ali?
Next, we have a spill-free funnel.
Spill-free funnel.
So this is going to be like a set to use with cars, I imagine.
Automotive, yep. Mm-hmm. I wonder, my first point here is I like the price point, okay? It's a lot better. We've kind of moved on from there. Are people typing in spill-free funnel? That's an interesting thing, but let's go with it. Let's go with it anyway. What I would do is I'd definitely remove the hyphen and move it into 3 words. Because if we're going, which we'll kind of show in a way in a second, actually just go with automotive funnel for now, Ali, and then we'll come back to spill-free. Just go with automotive. Because, or it could be like a vehicle funnel. I'm going automotive because I'm trying to do it something. But look in here, right? Yeah. Prices right down in the depths. Confusion reigns supreme. Clones reign supreme. This, if we don't know what we're doing in here, then we've absolutely no hope. So, and that I feel is what the vast majority of people are going to type in, whether they're looking for the spill-free version or not. So yeah, going back to then our spill-free funnel, let's emulate. Let's pretend that customer is typing in spill-free funnel, then, and let's have a look at that market. Even though we kind of know like automotive funnel is probably the more generic term, or even car oil funnel, which is going to throw up a whole pile more. But here's the spill-free. Now, see, whenever you see this, right, the alarm bells start ringing for me, because let's exclude number 1 there, right? Because it's twice on that one line. They are carbon copies, but also there are slight differences. You can see as well that like a 625 in automotive, that is absolutely killing it in terms of sales. Mm-hmm. And it's going along with the radiator, the coolant. It's a much better description as to the original one we found, and you can see that sometimes whenever you find a product, then you find a better selling one. But let's just come on down then, Ali. Like there's another one, that ABN. Then we got a different style. Then we got another one. Okay, not selling because the price is off. Here's another one down there with like a burgundy top on it, slightly different. We got the Cow Plus. We got the Ares. I mean, this is Clone Central. Yeah. With a little, it's like Clone Central with a hint of confusion as well as to what type you'd do.
Yeah, definitely. And there's just a lot of noise in the market as well. So if you use a picture you're offering on this page, it'll just be diluted in amongst all the noise.
Yeah, and you then start doing things like, oh, well, what if I change the color? Yeah. What does it matter about the color of a spill-free funnel? You can make it green and think you're going to stand out, but it's not going to do anything for you. Yeah. Or you'll hear people saying, "Oh, I'll do a twin pack." Why in the name of God would you do a twin pack on a product? That is a very lazy way to try and stand out in the market. Whenever you can move off this market, continue researching, potentially segue off this, move down on through the levels
Mhm.
and find something a hell of a lot better. Because we don't, again, it's that thing of it, we don't have to shoehorn an idea here. We are not that desperate to get a product into stock that we just do the very first thing that appears for us. It's like go deeper, find the variables that are going to work for us.
Yeah.
So for me, ruling that out, while we move on to the next one, ruling it out on, I mean, price was good. Search results weren't bad, although the generic term we weren't too happy about. But, Clone Central with a hint of confusion. Up next is our disposable funnel. Okay, so we got onto a bit of a funnel or a funnel pipeline. And so I guess, these are disposable funnels then, Ali, or disposable funnel. It's going to throw up exactly the same number, whether we go on the plural or not. Now, my immediate reaction there was, $8.99 was the one that we found. But also then, just looking here, we've got 4 across the top. They're all disposable. They've got different sizes. Some of them are not for like what we're talking. We were talking more about oil, car related, whereas some of these here are more for like water fountains. So it's important to know what we're looking at. So we definitely got 2 up there, but 98,000 and 140,000 plus the price, right? Mm-hmm. Lack of market straight away, and price points going south. So that's not what we want to see, Ali.
Definitely not.
And even though, people will say, oh, well, there's a lack of offering here. There's not too many in there. We've got to make sure that we hit all the different pieces of the jigsaw. It's not just one or the other. We've got to be able to find something that fits across the board, and just going that level deeper or that extra 10 minutes or half an hour, that's going to allow us to find something. So for me, this one is market weak or no market, and price going definitely south. So as everybody should do, Ali, we move on to the next one.
So the next one's an all drain container.
What I also love as well, is about, in terms of like ruling stuff out, it's always one of these things that is great to know, because knowing what we don't want to see is just as important as knowing what we do want to see. Because if we know what we don't want to see, and then we don't see that, then we're seeing what we do want to see. So this product at the minute, the time of recording, is kind of sold out. So we can't see the real pricing, but we'll get a feel for it down inside the extension. But it seems to be around the sort of $30 mark. And this was an oil drain container. So that key term was not inside the title. So sometimes you got to go digging for it. Like what is the consumer going to type in? Well, they're going to be draining their oil and they need a container, right? So it's nice and simple. It does not take a genius to work this out by any stretch of the imagination. So, we did see that product, which was 16 quart US measurement. Mm-hmm. But then we have a very similar product at probably half the price there at $19.99, selling at $67 in the marketplace. Yeah. Now, then we've also got another one, which is selling, it's a 10 quart, so it is slightly smaller, so I'd expect it to be slightly less expensive. That's $10.99. Yeah. So what looked good from a market size, 67, 2891, 3259, it's looking like a big market. Now the price is kind of going a little bit down on us. Let's just move on down the list there, Ali. See what size this market gets to. Right, now we've entered into a little bit of confusion here as well, because it's what type of product are we going to sell? Is it this open sort of basket or open container? Is it a closed one? Is it a 5-gallon drum? Is it a spill mat? Let's just scroll on down a little bit more. Yeah, so like there's not that many items in this market, okay? But still of all, it is a big market, Ali. So it's like, to me, its size of market is probably too big, or it's moving towards too big. Yeah. And with that drop in price, it's kind of ruling it out for me. But it could be an excellent segue, I would say. What would you think, Ali?
Oh, definitely, yeah. Whenever I look at these ultra-low BSRs, that's warning lights for me. But then looking at the product itself, definitely a good area to research and segue from.
Yeah, because you can really tell a lot, whenever you get into the low BSRs, the warning signs do definitely go off. Then whenever you get added to that more low BSRs in exactly the same category, and then add into that a little touch of low price, we start to move away. But I always move off those, and I'm able to then get a good segue going on it.
Yeah.
Okay, Ali, what's up next then, sir?
All right. So the next one we have a set of six mason jar lids.
Coffee mason jar lids. Might even be mason jar lids, but I think the coffee element is good enough to sort of say that somebody's looking for that. Now,
Yeah.
6,000 results. We don't normally get to see, whenever we're going through a number of things, but it's one of those things where it's like boom, and that is a fairly long-tailed phrase.
Yeah.
We don't want to see that, and for me, whenever I do see those sort of numbers, I just immediately rule out.
Yeah.
But moving on down here as well, just while we're on this product, number one, even though we've typed in coffee, we're getting a hell of a lot of other items as well that are going for it. We can see that very first product has got nothing to do with coffee. It's actually pasta. We have got in the sort of fourth slot there, we have got a grip style thing. Whenever we move on down, I believe we've got like straws. We've also got mason jar mugs with the straws. We've got a pour lid and everything else. So this tells me, even though as a consumer I've typed something in, the results are coming back. They're endless. So put yourself in the position of the consumer and say, how would they ever find anything in here because of the size of the results that are coming back?
Yeah, definitely.
It's such a rule out on so many areas. Search results, as well as the noise inside the marketplace. Total confusion. So we definitely move on.
So the next one is a hose guide.
There could be a number of terms here, but I think a hose guide is probably right. You could go down the line of like track or channel or things like that, but a guide is good. 467 on the results side, so a hell of a lot better than our previous 67. And the one that we have here is a sponsored item, and the other product that we're seeing here is actually slightly different.
Yeah.
In that it's more for the other way around.
Mm-hmm.
As in, it's not a horizontal. It's more, or it's not a. It is horizontal. The one that we found is horizontal. I nearly got the words out.
Yeah.
And yet the other one is vertical. So that's kind of the one that we're looking for there. So let's just scroll on down. We can see the one there. I believe that's the one that we looked at. The 4-star. Is that correct?
Yep.
Yes. And it's the only one in the market. The only one. It's on its own. Price is good. Confusion does not exist, but neither does a market. Absolutely, it's as clear as day. Now, what I would do from here is there's potential segues. I don't like the sort of spike guides simply because the pricing is low. Maybe there's another product in there in the likes of that Yard Butler product, that Plant Saver Hose Guide. There could be something there. It's getting towards range, but overall, I don't think there exists a market. Ali, what about your own feelings?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, there's not too much noise in terms of different styles and things, but just this is the only offering that's doing this. And while I like the price point, the market is way too small.
Yeah, so it's market size. Really, that's the only thing that goes against this is market size. So unfortunately, this would be a no from us. It's not what we want to see. We want to see something with a better market.
Great. So the next one, canning set.
It's as simple as that, isn't it? Yeah. So 1,000 results, pretty good, but we've seen this look before.
Yeah.
Okay. And this is something that we do not want to see. Market size, we're looking at 27, 14, 10, and then like 700. So it's big, but it's on the bigger side, but it's still okay in terms of market. Let's just scroll on down. We get that Zavor is a duplicate. Then we've got the Presto, which is at 5,000. So the product's now starting to move into too big. It's starting to move. And I would even say at this point, it's at that level. We got another one here, more simpler version, Prepworks, 12,000. Let's scroll on down. There's another one there. Price. They're obviously contending on price. Different style, but now we got price to concern ourselves with as well. This just doesn't fit. It doesn't fit with it for kind of like a number of minor reasons.
Yeah.
Price is starting to go on us. There's a level of confusion in the marketplace. There's a level of clone in the marketplace, and there's a level of that the market's too big. I could not turn around and rule it out on any one of those four elements alone, but because they're all prevalent and they all exist, for me, it gets knocked out because of it.
Mm-hmm.
You know, there's not one of those things that's scoring it that bad that says the market's too big. The market's not too big. You couldn't say there's too much confusion in the marketplace. There's a bit, but it's not too much. There's a bit of noise. There's a bit of clone. There's a little touch of everything.
Yeah.
So therefore, for me, it's like where would I go with this? What would I do with this? Also, there's another level there where you look at the likes of the Zavor and you're talking about a premium product which is added into the mix as well.
Mm-hmm.
You know, so you're going from the range here in terms of price goes from 10 to 300. So that's stark. So there's so many things going on here. I can't make a clear decision. So it actually comes down to my decision making of like, what would I do inside this market? For me, it's a no.
Yeah. It's really interesting. So you like it kind of shows how important it is to look at the whole market and not get stuck on one specific area.
Yeah, especially, we do look into one specific area as well, but we gotta look at different parts of it here. This is probably a good example of how certain markets can be confusing, and whenever you do hit any form of confusion, the simple way is to move on, because there are a lot more simple products that we have covered inside a number of different areas. This series is really all about taking products that are a no, but also at the same time working out why it's a no, and then applying the other items that we turn around and we say yes, and seeing sometimes the stark differences, but also sometimes the subtle differences, Ali.
Yeah, definitely. And it's also kind of highlights the looking at the reward, and while we can kind of rule a product out, but only just doesn't mean that it's a bad product as per se, or the market is terrible, but just kind of weighing up the reward, and is it worth my time and effort when there are a lot of more lower hanging fruit to be found.
Yeah, and especially with this sort of scenario where you've got, there's an 8-piece here, 6-piece, 5-piece, 3-piece. How would you know which one is which? And if I've got to go and source 8 items, you could easily go and source 8 completely different products and go into 8 completely different marketplaces. So definitely time reward is a big, big factor. So I know this says it's a canning lid rack. Is it a canning lid rack or is it a lid rack?
So this is going to be specifically for kind of like along the lines of the products we were just looking at. So canning, those sort of items.
Let's go with canning lid rack so that we can look and we can see what that market. I know it is probably a little bit long tailed, but it will let us see the market. Okay, so we've got that Nor Pro one. Okay, $11. So price is it's somewhere. We also seem to have a number of products that don't really fit in here because neither of those other 4 are lid racks.
Mm-hmm.
They're lids, they're grills, they're different things. That looks on the last row. That looks like some form of just where it says 12 pieces there, one stage down, because everything on that is not a lid rack. So we move on down to the next row there, Ali. So that is okay. That's not. I thought that was some form of rack. there. Let's scroll on down. Yeah, so there's a limited market here, but actually, it's probably something that we may consider. Right, price isn't great. It could be this style. Whenever we see something which is in range and it's well in range, there's nothing else really around it. Could we sit in second place to this product? Yes. Okay. Now, what we'd have to do is we'd have to go in and find out a little bit more about this item. Like, why is there this sort of odd shaped side to it? Is that for hanging or what is that for? We'll have to go in and have a look at that. We'd also need to go and get pricing here. And the size, I don't know what size this is, but I've got an idea there on the measurements. You're looking at 25 centimeters. It's not exactly a very small product, okay? And we shouldn't assume, we shouldn't guess something. But what if I was going to assume is this product is going to get ruled out on its numbers eventually. But it's the kind of thing that you could take on forward into the numbers area. There is a level of what we do want to see in this product, Ali. The price, it's not great. However, everything else, is there noise? No. Is there competition? No. Is there a market? Yes, there is a market. So there's something along this. There's a green shoot, even though we're covering blacklist. There's always little green shoots in there as well, and potentially a fantastic segue, Ali. What do you think?
Yeah, definitely.
What do you think about the market?
Yeah, so initially when I looked at this, I thought it's quite an odd shaped product with its long side on the far end there, and
I do feel that would go against it long term, but I guess it's all about sort of like assumption. We can't make an assumption right here and now because we don't know the numbers behind it. We don't know what that product costs. The price, I think, will go against it in the longer term. But actually, on the face of it, this can't really get ruled out, which is interesting. We normally rule out products on this series, but we can't actually rule that one out. So we'll take one more, and then it's almost like a cliffhanger, until the next episode, Ali.
I think looking at this next one, kind of stayed in the same kind of. You could tell that this was a segue in like a certain area.
Yeah, and there is definitely there's a real tip there in that. Okay, we're finding things that we're ruling out, but we're finding a lot of things, right? Yeah. So, it's like there's a reason why we're finding a lot here is because we're segueing in the one area and we're going down that path, that sort of pathway, aren't we?
Yeah.
So this is both of these. This is like a top and bottom here because I see it's like two shells nested together, and is it a canning jar protector or like a jar protector?
Yeah, I've got canning jar container on my sheet here.
Okay, so let's go with container, and then let's maybe try protector as well, because I think that container protector probably has two different functions, if you want to call it that. I think there's potential in the likes of protector. Just having a look at it. Now, canning jar container. Okay, so boom, boom, boom. 1, 2, 3. We got clones right across the top there. One of them has moved out of stock, so it was probably selling a little bit better. At a certain point in time. So there's a bit of a market here. I'm thinking the container is going to show us a hell of a lot more than protector, so we may not need to go down the protector route. Let's just scroll on down there, Ali. So these are all jars. Next row, jars. Next row, jars. There's no protectors or containers, whatever we want to call them. So look, there's nothing else in the market. It's only those ones at the top. For me, Ali, the market doesn't exist.
Yeah.
Just about and no more. Because there is a product, right, at 30,000. We've got to contend with two other listings.
Yeah.
And we've got to beat every single one of them, is my opinion. Even if we got the reward we were talking about inside this episode of the work that we have to do to just compete with that 30,000 one, we have to be number one in the market. So for me, price is okay. There's not much noise. There's no confusion. It's not cloney, but the market just doesn't exist, Ali.
Yeah.
Ali, until next time, sir. Until next time.
Looking forward to it.